go ahead and get started. We are super excited to have Ashley Simmons here with us. I was a little nervous for this one because it's May, and I know there's also the Southwest Tech graduation tonight, so we didn't plan it very well as far as the timing of it. But we're super excited to have you here. I heard you speak at the One Utah Summit. It was fantastic. So if you weren't there, I'm glad you're here today. So she's the CEO of Soda Beers. She's Tyler Stillman's sister, so a lot of you know Tyler Stillman.
Which is
that runs
the main thing.
Yeah, Entrepreneurship Center. And it's really cool because it's a family-owned business, and your dad started it, right? If I'm not mistaken. And so you've been around the business since it started, right, your whole life. And she's now the CEO and still involved in the business every day. And so yeah, we're really excited to have you here and to learn more about your business.
Awesome, thank you. Okay. Well, yay, I'm excited to be here. This is fun. It's an awesome center, really, really neat. And thanks for being here. I guess you took this over the graduation ceremony of Southwest Tech. Wow. I appreciate this. This is more exciting than a graduation ceremony. Hopefully. Okay, so today I want to talk about the innovation of leadership, and the innovation I want to focus on is how we think about difficulty as leaders, and the impact that has on our teams. But before we start with that, I'll just give you a little background into our story if you don't know it already. Our story actually begins when my father was a young man, although he's clearly not a young man in this photo, but when he was a young man, he lived in Germany, and he discovered a beverage that was called Fossbrauser. It was a very unique beverage. It was an alcohol-free beverage, and it was made with apples, but the Germans put as much effort into their alcohol-free beverages as they do into their craft beers. They really craft them. And they made it with the peel of the apple instead of the pulp. And this gave it a unique balance of tart and sweet. And also when it was served in a wooden barrel like a beer, and when you poured it, it had a thick foamy head, and it was a gorgeous amber color like a beer. So my dad fell in love with it and brought it home and named it Apple Beer and trademarked that name because he knew he had just found a winner. And 60 years later, I'm going to say that Dad was right about that. So over the years, we've expanded our product offering from just the apple beer. And we've established Soda Beers, which is a family company. So we have a creamy vanilla root beer, which is like a root beer float in a bottle. We have a ginger beer, which is it's a lighter ginger beer, so it's not too overwhelming. A butterscotch beer for the Harry Potter fans, which there are a lot of. And then the sugar-free, which is my favorite. I love it. It's so good. So that's a little bit of our history. Now I want to talk about leadership. My dad was an incredible leader. He was charismatic and dynamic and wicked smart. And he drew talent towards him. And he put together an outstanding team to lead Soda Beers. Before he passed away, right when he got sick, he sent actually out an email to the whole team that just said, Ashley is taking the leadership. I got it at the same time as everyone else. So that was kind of a surprise and maybe a different path for my life. And I started to wonder, how can I lead this team? These guys are so talented, and they have worked with my dad for this many years. Like, what do I bring to the team? So I've thought a lot about leadership. And I started to call on my leadership experience in life. And We definitely are leaders in a lot of areas of our lives. It doesn't necessarily have to be formalized with our neighbors, in our communities, in our churches, in our schools, and obviously with our businesses. And I started to think about the leadership experience I've had. And one of those experiences I had was as a soccer coach to my daughter. I coached their team for 7 years. And this little team was not exactly a strike force of well-honed talent, right? This is just our neighborhood soccer team who lives around us. Some of them loved sports. Some of them did not love sports. So every year, and every beginning of the season, we would talk about the nature of soccer. And we would talk about the fact that getting kicked in the shins, getting hit with the ball, getting elbowed was not someone cheating or something going wrong. This was the nature of soccer. And we tried to reinforce the acceptance of difficulty. And so every soccer practice, we would highlight a girl who, got tripped and got up and kept going, and tried to reinforce this every single time we practiced. And these little girls started to become pretty invincible. Towards the end of our season, after 7 years, the last 4 years, we didn't lose a game or come close to losing a game. And in fact, we started to win games that we absolutely should have lost because these girls were so empowered with their own toughness. There was a game that we played that really is strong in my memory. We only could put together 9 girls who could make it that day. And that's against a team of 11. And it was a hot day. And so not only were we playing with 2 short on the field, but their team had an entire bench full of substitutions. So they were rotating in. But these girls wanted it. They wanted to prove themselves that they could do this. So we had the game tied. And it was going okay, but we couldn't get that final goal. Until the very end of the game, my daughter was dribbling the ball, trying to get in scoring position. And she just couldn't penetrate their defense. And their defender came up to kick the ball away from her and hit the ball wrong. And the ball, instead of going away from my daughter, went swiftly and directly right into her face. And everyone kind of gasped for just a minute. And I myself have been hit in the face with a soccer ball plenty of times, and I knew from watching her that it really, really stung. But I knew she wasn't injured. So in this moment when everyone kind of paused, I screamed at her as loud as I could to shoot the ball. And she heard me, and she opened up one eye, turned her body, and shot that ball with all of her strength and scored. And so we won this game that we won a game we should have lost. And I think about this game all the time, and I know that it doesn't matter. I know it doesn't matter. But what matters is this little gem of truth that is within that game. That it is sometimes the difficulties that we face that are actually opportunities if we can take advantage of them. We would not have won that game if she did not get hit in the face. It gave us just a tiny bit of opening. Can we open our eyes, even just one, and look for that opportunity? And this happens a lot in life. Enough that I would say that a stinging blow that actually is a lucky break is what I like to call the Scott Sterling principle. So, we'll go on to the next slide. So, running a soft drink company oftentimes feels like playing 9 to 11 on a hot soccer day and a hot summer's day. You guys know some of our competitors. Some of them spend more in marketing in the first week of the year than we have to spend an entire year. But they don't seek just to outspend us. They actually seek to try and keep us from being able to play at all. They go into colleges and put in contracts, amusement parks. They go into movie theaters, sporting arenas. They actually, I realize, are now going into high schools and putting in contracts that say you may not sell any other beverage on this premises. You may not say the name of another beverage on the premises. So it's pretty tough competition. But we are a team that looks for any opening to take a shot. The pandemic was such an opening for us. I'm sure you will remember walking down the aisles during the pandemic. It was a scary time. It was a tough time to do business. But because, ironically, of our size, because we were lean and we were small, we were always able to source our products. We were always able to source aluminum. We were always able to source all of our glass. And so when the bullies of the soda market couldn't keep their products on the shelf, we were never off the shelf once. So in a tough and scary time, we were able to find some angles and different ways to get some shots. And some of that was because we were small. Also, during the pandemic, we were recognized as Utah's best product, which is a pretty incredible thing because the companies that we compete for that are hundreds and hundreds of times our size, like massive companies. And this isn't just food products, from t-shirts to nail polish, any company. We were recognized as the very best product in Utah. So that was a big deal for us. Sometimes we call being tough in difficult circumstances, we refer to that as resilient. And resilience is good, but the author Nassim Taleb, in his book Anti-Fragile, thinks that we can actually do better than resilient. And he explains it like this. Okay, so if you had something you were going to ship and the contents of this package are damaged by any shakeups or bumps and bruises or stresses that come along, you're going to label that as fragile. If you have a package that you're going to ship and the things within it can withstand difficulty, that are unfazed, unharmed by difficulty, we will call that resilient. But he thinks we can do better than that. What if the items of your package could improve with difficulty? What if they grew stronger through difficulty? When I read his book and I read that, I thought, well, that's a lovely idea, but that's clearly fictional. There's no such thing as becoming stronger through difficulty. And then in the next chapter, he gives us a few examples. Obviously, our muscular system, right? Like, we all know that the difficulty of exercise makes us stronger. It's the only way to actually really build muscle, is the difficulty of exercise. Our immune system becomes stronger through the difficulty of immunizations and vaccines. We embody the reality that difficulty makes us stronger. So what does this mean for a business? I believe it means adapting and not resisting. There is a reason that most businesses only make it 30 years at the most, because they become resistant to change and who they are. And we're going on 60 years, and we cannot, as a company, become resistant to change. A few years ago, there was a big windstorm that came through Davis County. And there was a lot of damage that happened. A lot of trees blew down. And the city manager at the time walked through and took stock of all the damage. And he came out with his assessment that all these trees blew down because they simply did not have strong enough root system. I saw things very differently than he did. I took note that every single tree that blew down was an evergreen tree and not a deciduous tree. Deciduous trees change with the seasons. And the wind that blew down the evergreen trees went through the deciduous trees. The evergreens stay the same through every season, and that unwillingness to change is what put up the resistance that blew them down. Soda Beers is in its 60th year. I've been working for the company for 25 years. Since 2019 to today, in the grocery market, we're at 31% inflation. We have seen some tough times in the 20 years that I've been in business and been aware of our challenges. Nothing compares to what we are going through right now. So we will either adapt or we will tip over. So here are the things we are doing to adapt. Number one, we're looking at our packaging. Our bottle requires the most packaging, and that's the one that we have seen the most inflationary rates because each item has its 31% increase. The crown, the bottle, the label, the 4-pack, the case box. So we are re-looking at that and seeing how can we reduce redundant packaging. We're also working with new suppliers, and we're reaching out to our competitors and seeing if we can combine forces and source our packaging together to meet lower minimums and save some of that cost. We are also moving towards dealing with more independent grocery stores and independent warehouses. The independent stores and the independent warehouses work with companies seeing inflation better than the chains. And so we're shifting our energy from the big box chains to the independent groceries and independent warehouses. We're also updating our label and updating our logo. We've had the same look for far too long, and as we are adapting to our new environment, we're finding more appealing and better ways to present our product. So that's it, actually. I'm excited about our company. I'm excited about the opportunity to face these challenges, face the challenge of 31% inflation, which is very serious and very significant. But because it poses such a difficulty, we as a company will become smarter, leaner, and better adapted so that when we can move on from this inflationary period, we are a well-honed machine. So thank you. That's all I have.